I think it's very common among French learners like me, wherein the instructor or the teacher asks their student about a certain word that we may not yet encountered. And usually these French words sounds or looks like similar to English. Like for example, magasa. Magasa looks like magazine, but it's not the direct meaning. That's what they all. And then when we respond these answers, the instructor says that maybe that's the meaning, but not the direct meaning. So they're trying to say that it's close enough, but it's not the actual meaning. Therefore, because of these repeating instances, I have this kind of idea that can helps me to further my learning in French, which is when I encounter this kind of English-looking French words, I can take them as a context clue. Like for example, the word magasa, they looks like magazine, but but that's not the direct meaning. I can use that word magazine as a context clue to found the meaning of that word magasa. And usually, where do you buy those magazines? In shops, maybe in bookstore, but in general, we found them in shops, different kinds of shops. Therefore, magasa means magazine, and magasa means shops, shop. Another example is the word attention. Attention is not it looks like attention, but it's not the direct meaning. But if you pay attention to things, you can there's a lot of possibility answer, but for me, if I pay attention to things, I can be more careful. Attention means be careful or caution. And this rule is not applicable to everything. Like for example, the word the basket, and it sounds like basket, but basket doesn't connect to the runners. So it's just a personal preference, and I think for me that being treating it as a context clue is helpful. As I learned more about different kinds of transition words, I stumbled across these two words, which are the Parce and car. Although those two French words have similar meaning in English, which is because, the way you use them in French is very different. First, the word Pasque. Pasque is actually a transition word. So it means you can use that in the beginning of a sentence. And second, you can also use that in the middle of the sentence. But if you're going to use it, usually you're trying to explain something, the actual causality of what you just said before, or it's the usually it's common sense, or it makes sense if you explain them. Like for example, je suis malade parce que je n'ai pas bien dormi la nuit dernière. So it makes sense because I'm sick because I didn't sleep well. And sleep is very important to be healthy and to be more energy. And yeah, that makes sense, right? I think it's a common knowledge among people, to every people. But the word car first is it's not a transition word. Second, you only use that in the middle of the sentence, and the way you're going to use the word is when you're trying to justify something that may or may not be true. Like for example, je suis malade car je n'ai pas la petite amie. It doesn't make sense because it doesn't make sense that because I don't have a partner doesn't mean that I am sick. So it means like it doesn't make sense, not a logic knowledge or a common knowledge. It's just maybe I said that because I'm being dramatic or what. So that's the difference between the word pasque and car. Again, pasque when you're trying to explain the causality of what you said before, and car when you're trying to justify something. Usually, when we receive simple questions like "Etu malad," we can usually answer it in very basic way, yes or no. Like, "Oui, je suis malade," or "No, je ne suis pas malade." And that way, it's simple, right? But when the question is in negative form, like for example, Tu n'es pas malade? You cannot just say oui or no, because in both response, it only means that you're agreeing with what just the question is saying, that negative question. Instead, there's what we call si that we can use. Si first can be translated as if, but in this case, si is also used when can be means yes in a way that you're kind of like contradicting to that negative form question. Like for example, est tu n'es pas malade? So the question means, are you not sick? And if you're trying to say no, I'm sick, you can just say that. You have to say, you have to use the word si, like si je suis malade. So it means you're kind of like contradicting to the negative form by saying that you're sick, because the question is said, are you not sick, right? So that is very important. Oh, you can use no, because no, je suis malade. It doesn't make sense in that way, because it's like kind of confusing in a way. So although I learned a lot in TikTok about, there's a lot of like no we something like that, but in basic form, always use si when there's like a negative form question. In this video, we're going to transform this verb in different forms in Passé Composé. First, let's identify what kind of verb is this. This verb belongs to this unique 17 that are exempted from using avoir as the helping verb. So aside these 17 verbs, and the pronominal verbs uses être as the helping verb. For example, je suis. So let's transform this first in singular form. For that, we are going to erase this R, and then we are going to apply accent here. So that is like the general rule. So like for example, je suis allé. So instead of saying je suis alors, je suis allé. Let's say the subject that saying this word is a woman. We need to add e, but the pronunciation is just the same. Je suis allé. That additional is very important to identify that the speaker is a woman. What if, let's say, nous sommes allés? It's plural. Let's say they are mixed both boys and girls. So we need to add s, but still the pronunciation is the same. So allés. But if, let's say, the speaker is referring to a group of women, so for that, we are going to add the additional e, and then we're going to add the s. But the pronunciation is just the same. It's allé. It's just the form that changes based on who is speaking and who they are referring to. That's the example of how to transform this in Passé Composé. Bonsoir mes amis, c'est Albert. Aujourd'hui, nous allons construire un tonneau pour un rendez-vous avec ma petite amie. Le soleil brille en plus. D'abord, je vais mettre un peu blanche. Je suis dans ma chambre. Alors, je porte ces jeans que j'adore. En plus, je vais mettre des boîtes noires et des chaussettes marron. Oui, c'est des chaussettes marron. Enfin, je porte une casquette et c'est tranche marron. Une casquette verte. Merci de voir regardé. Au revoir.
Bonsoir, c'est Albert, and in this video I'm going to make an awful a cappella song, cover song of my favorite French song that I don't even know that it's French song until I study French, which is Sokirovon, which is a song by Isaac Danielson, and it's not actually his original song, but it's a cover. But I love this version more. Probably it's because it's a male voice and I'm a male and I kind of like although I don't understand the whole song, but like I have the idea of what the meaning of it, which is about a person who questions or kind of like wonders how he can sleep because he can't sleep with this person, and he kind of like questions like he's kind of like experiencing insomnia, which means insomnia, obviously. And there's some words like anesthesia, which means anesthesia, which is kind of like saying does he needs anesthesia to just so that it cures his insomnia. And there's some words like malady, which means disease. It's different from malade, no, it's different from malad, which is sick. And then malady means disease, or like worse than being sick, something like that. So I'll just try to make a cover, okay? Minuit blanche ne sont pas blanches à peine claires, c'est mes doigts, petit trou dans le toit de taches, tristesse trace sous les voies, et moi envoûté de ténébreux, je passe de l'infini, à compter les moutons funèbres, qui tapissent en insomnie. Ah, minuit est là. Je ne dors pas, et moi je dors, et plus je pense, et moi j'oublie, et même s'il passe, escasément, qui s'étendent au fond de mon lit, c'est inouï tout ce silence qui laisse cosmique cette nuit. Moi j'ai recouru à la chance, anesthésier les insomnies. Ah, ah, minuit est là. Ah, je ne dors pas. Et puis passer minuit, je pense au rythme de tachycardie. Et tout s'emballe, et tout balance, et tout métal, et tout me fruit. La lune est un fruit. Oh, la lune est, et tout me fruit. La lune, la lune, la lune, la lune est un fruit, un provence, la vie est une maladie. C'est que venons bien de la chance, elle est au stress, de insomnie, ce qui venons bien de la chance, elle est au stress, de insomnie, ce qui venons bien de la chance, quoi l'amour, j'ai insomnie. Ah, minuit est là. Ah, je ne dors pas. Ah, minuit est là. Ah, je ne dors pas. Je ne dors pas. Je ne dors pas. Thank you so much for listening to this awful cover. Bye.